Welcome to episode 31 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic.
So we had the pleasure of watching, if you want to call it that, the new Independence Day movie, Resurgence.
I was just thinking the same thing when you said we had the pleasure of watching it. I'm like, I'm not so sure.
So I actually revisited the first Independence Day a few days ago, as I usually do before I go watch the sequel. And I noticed some really glaring problems in that movie. There's a lot of coincidences, and and we'll talk about some parallels between the two movies. But why the hell? How come when a city gets destroyed and you have someone kind of wandering through the city, they happen upon one of the main characters? Just sitting there, either crashing a helicopter, or in the new movie, he's just sitting there in a boat in the middle of nowhere, and there's nobody alive.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal in the second movie, so we'll jump ahead a little bit. Spoilers, by the way.
Spoilers, horrific.
So in the second movie, it's not that big of a deal because the one thing I was thinking about throughout this whole movie, Resurgence, was that holy fuck, there's a lot of side stories going on. Right.
Yeah.
And they just literally just introduced those kids driving the station wagon, what is it, 30, 40 minutes into the movie. And I'm like, who the fuck are these kids? And then they find Jeff Goldblum's dad. And
right.
That I didn't think was that big of a deal because they were just some random kids driving through. But in the first movie, the stripper girlfriend finds the vice president, who are two major characters or main characters in the first movie.
President's wife, yeah.
Right? Which it's fucking. I don't know what you thought, and this is not sexist or anything whatsoever. I just thought it was comical that she's the stripper in the first movie, and then she's a major doctor in the second movie. So I just thought that was funny. Not that
it's American Dream.
Just because a stripper, not saying a stripper couldn't do it, but I just thought it was fucking funny that the stripper became a doctor. It was almost like the writers were like, well, what's the most distinguished job we could give possibly a stripper after her husband becomes like this major world hero? They're like, well, we can't make her president, but we can make her a doctor. Okay, let's go with that.
Yeah,
write that in the script.
And she dies in a shitty way too.
Yeah, you don't even get the close up of her dying. You get a CG version of her dying.
Just the body falling.
Yeah, you just get some random CG person dying.
Maybe someone will come along and find her body and she'll be alive. But it didn't happen.
Yeah. And
I was like, oh,
you know what? Thinking about Vivica A. Fox's character too. So remember in the first one where they're running through the tunnel and she runs in through the side of the tunnel, and she has to call back for the dog. And then in the second movie, the girl has to get out of the bus and go and get the dog. And I'm thinking both times I'm like,
fuck that
fuck
dog.
the dog. Fuck the I'm sure we'll get PETA commenting on this podcast, but that happens also in that also happens in Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead movie too, where the girl fucking goes after the fucking dog, where in that case the zombies don't even give a shit about the dog, and she just basically goes out and kills herself or kills the other person trying to save her. And I'm like, well, either she dies or the person who goes and saves her is going to die, because anytime, if movies have taught us anything, don't ever go back and save the fucking animal, because either you get yourself killed or the person who's dumb enough to go after your stupid ass gets killed.
Right. And the dog, and honestly, the dog's not going to sit there and get killed. It'll run away. So just give it some time.
But that dog in Dawn of the Dead was in no danger. That dog was the safest thing in that entire movie. Dog was never going to get eaten by a zombie. It's not like with The Walking Dead where the zombies will just eat anything. In that version, it doesn't want to eat animals.
Right.
But anyway, back to Independence Day.
The only time I thought the dog, getting killed and it really bummed me out was in I Am Legend, because I thought, shit, that was his companion, But
yeah, that's a little bit different when there's nobody else around. And there's
Right.
nobody else around. But if because like he was going to sacrifice, he didn't even sacrifice himself to get, and he thought he was the only person left on Earth, so he didn't even
Right.
sacrifice himself. So what does that tell you, about what you should do? And then like in the other versions, it's you either sacrifice yourself or you get somebody else killed. So, but
Yeah. I don't know. I don't love my animals that much. I mean, I love them, but not that much.
I'm not a big
So
animal person, so I'm always like, fuck the dog, just get into the tunnel or get into the bus. Because like there was a giant alien coming down in that school bus with like 50 kids. That one girl was gonna get all 50 kids killed.
yeah, I noticed that the characters were so nonchalant about everything. Even like Jeff Goldblum's character's like, oh god, like that dog. He wasn't like, get that your fucking ass in the bus.
I would have
Which
fucking
is what
left.
I
I
would
would
have
have
been
closed the
doing.
door. I would have closed the door and
It
been
took
like,
off. Yeah, say like later, baby. Sorry.
it's either like this random girl and this dog that I don't give a shit about who I just met, or sacrifice all these 50 kids and my dad. I would have fucking drove off.
You're on your own, kiddo.
Yeah, I would have been like, if this is the end of the world, it's one less mouth to feed. You're a fucking moron. I don't need stupid people.
yeah, but so anyway, so Independence Day, the first one. I mean, I remember in '96. God, it was 20 years. Holy cow! It was just like a really fun popcorn movie. It was in rewatching it though. I noticed that there's really not a lot of action. It's a lot of build up, and they do a really good job of building that movie up to the point where like the aliens come to like destroy Earth, but there wasn't a lot of action. In this movie, there was a lot of action,
There
like
was
a
so
lot.
much CG in this movie. Like I mean, there probably wasn't a shot in this movie that didn't have some kind of CG in it.
Yeah,
Um, there was a
it was
ton of it.
heavy.
I'm surprised it didn't cost as much as something like The Force Awakens or something like that, because there was so much involved in this. I mean, the whole what is it? The whole like 70%, last 70% of the movie is just all CG, or not all CG, but mostly tons of special effects, especially the whole giant alien part.
Yeah, and the other thing that I think we talked off air about, but in the first movie there wasn't a lot of diversity, and it seemed in this one they kind of did a little bit more.
Yeah,
But the
there
first
definitely
movie,
was. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, in the
but
first one there was basically the Asian guy that you get in the very beginning of the movie. Like that's the first person you see in Independence Day. Is the Asian guy, and then I don't think you see another Asian for the entire movie. And I think there's like three black guys. Well, there's three black men, one black woman, I think, and then the black kid. So there's Will Smith, the guy who's going to shoot him in the helicopter later on in the movie, and then the
yeah, and
Secret
then the
Service guy.
security guard,
Yeah, the
yeah,
Secret Service guy in the movie, and then everybody else is white.
yeah, Vivica Fox and her son, yeah, that's
Like
true.
even mostly the people that were killed in New York City, which is a pretty diverse city, were I think all white people that you saw getting killed.
uh,
Some of the best lines were
what?
kind of ruined in the second movie too. Like I thought like some of the best Jeff Goldblum delivery type sarcastic lines were kind of ruined because they showed him in the trailer. Like one of the better lines in the movie was like they always like to get the monuments or whatever, and I was like, oh, that would have been funny to
Oh,
save for the movie and not
it
show it in the
was
trailer.
really, but it was really muted in the movie. Like I was waiting for that line, and I barely heard it when he did it. It
Yeah,
just
because
it
there was
just
so
kind of
much
happened.
explosion going on.
Yeah, and some of his line delivery, I really felt like he phoned it in. It just really, I think that movies that are so heavily CG that you could tell because the actors don't have anything to act off of, and
Yeah, but
so
it's
their delivery.
also Roland Emmerich. So I mean, a good and bad thing about a Roland Emmerich movie, especially when you get some decent actors in it. Like for some reason, I like some of his movies. I know they're shit. Like I liked The Day After Tomorrow, but you got some really good actors in it, like Dennis Quaid, and you got
Jake Gyllenhaal,
yeah,
and
Jake Gyllenhaal. So you get some good actors in there, and they kind of somehow carry the movie between all this devastation and shit. But it's a Roland Emmerich movie. Like I didn't go into this movie thinking like, oh my god, this is going to be the best movie of the summer. Like I knew exactly what I was going into, and I didn't need Rotten Tomatoes to tell me that it wasn't going to be a great movie.
right.
So
It's schlock factor. It's just uh, popcorn movie. So the dialogue isn't. I mean, some of the dialogue is kind of ridiculous, and they really tried to parallel a lot of the things from the first movie that worked. But I just wished on some level they would have done something different. Like really, the only thing different they did was bring the Queen in, and
The
a
fact
couple of
that
other
the
things.
fact that there was another race and that this fight is bigger than just Earth. I thought that was kind of
Right.
cool. I didn't like the fact that they brought fuck, I don't know his name. Whatever Data's name is in real life. Fuck. What's
Oh,
Data's?
Brent Spiner.
Yeah, like I didn't like the fact that they brought him back because he basically looked like he was dead in the first movie because they took that thing off and his eyes were open. Like that didn't look like he was in a coma. That looked like he was dead. So
Right.
did
Yeah,
you
they
pick up
kind
on
of
the
explain
fact?
that away.
Did you pick up on the fact that he might have like that might have been like his boyfriend or something? That scientist?
Yeah, I kind of felt like there was some
Not that it,
vibe going on there
yeah,
between
not
them.
that it was a big deal, but I just thought like this seems like more than what it was. I might have been reading too much into it, but it felt like it was more than just a friend. Especially with all the flowers
Well,
every day and changing him and knitting him that scarf that was really supposed to be a sweater, which was pretty funny.
yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, I guess. And when he died, I really didn't feel all that bad though. Like I don't know. I was like, he's
No,
just kind of a
that was
third
the other
tier
thing that I
character.
thought wasn't. We just said it. I mean, Roland Emmerich's films, the better ones that I enjoy, have solid performances. Not solid performances, but like, I mean, Bill Pullman's speech from the first movie is still really fucking awesome, as cheese
Yeah.
fest as it possibly could be. But so what lost it for me was some of the actors that they got here, and we'll go into this later on. That they
Hmm.
got for this movie didn't do as good as a job as like Will Smith did, and as good as even Bill Pullman, who was in the first movie. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna try to recreate that awesome speech like in the second movie when he was talking in the hangar bay, and I was like, wow, that fell really fucking short. And then the new president, who was trying to do the same thing that Bill Pullman did in the last movie, was really bad. And Jeff Goldblum wasn't Jeff being awesome Jeff Goldblum in this movie. So like that, I think that was like a major reason too for me not liking this movie as much as the first one. But again, it was a giant spectacle of a movie where there
Yeah,
was things
huge
in this.
popcorn movie.
Yeah, but you know what? The action in this movie, and this is not me shitting on DC again. The action in this movie I liked a little bit better than I did in Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
there's
no, I
certain
did.
things I didn't see. I've never seen certain things that they did in this movie. So I thought it was pretty interesting that way. But let's go back to
What's
Independence Day because we didn't
mhm.
do like uh, last week's Independence Day. So Independence Day was finished with a 61% Rotten Tomato rating, which isn't certifiably fresh, but it's like 2 points away from being shitty, like rotten.
Okay. Okay.
So and not bad at all. Doesn't have a ton of ratings, only had 59, but I think that's early on in Rotten Tomatoes realm
Hmm.
that they could, because the further back you go, the less ratings are going to be able to get because it wasn't like
Right.
that now the way that it is now because there's so many people reviewing movies. So at 61%, like we said, it was a popcorn movie. It did really well. I'm surprised it took them 20 years to remake, do another movie.
It did
Um,
like 700 and something $1 million worldwide, didn't it? It was huge.
Yeah,
It
something
was a huge
crazy.
hit.
It basically launched Will Smith's career too, because this was his first major blockbuster movie. And I think he actually was it this one or Men in Black that came first? I can't remember.
Independence Day came first, and then Men in Black. Like he had a string of movies, and then when he hit Wild Wild West, which I guess recently he came out saying he was apologizing for it. He's like, I was too egotistical, thinking that just me being in a movie, it'll be a huge blockbuster, and like that was a major, I guess, turn or something in his career where he thought, oh, I'm not, I need to start picking better material. Um, so yeah, he actually apologized all these years later for that movie because it was terrible. Like I hated Wild Wild West.
Yeah, that was just horrible. I don't know which one came first. Yeah, so it was
Well,
Independence Day. So Independence Day,
Independence Day came first.
yeah, so it
Yeah.
definitely launched his career. Um, uh, because he basically for like 3 years straight he owned like the Fourth of July weekend.
Oh, big time.
Um, but
So
and for those 3 years he was the biggest movie star in the world.
what's the deal though with him not being in this movie? Did they ever say why? It's like
Um,
his presence is
I
definitely missing.
I don't know. I mean, they showed pictures enough of him to reference him, and whoever they got, I don't I've never seen anything that that kid's been in. The one playing his son,
Hmm.
um, but he's definitely not Will Smith.
No,
Like
he's so flat. Why didn't they get Michael B. Jordan or something?
I'm pretty sure Michael B. Jordan didn't want anything to do with this film.
He was
Um,
probably doing Fantastic Four. I think he should have done this one instead, honestly.
well, I guess in that case, yeah. I mean, his career's been taking off, but yeah, I mean, but if you chose to, I mean, if you before the process started, if you were actually offered Independence Day 20 years after the original, or you get to do a Marvel type film, which would you have chosen? I would have chosen.
Black, yeah, Black Panther any day.
Well, I'm no
Yeah,
Michael B. Jordan.
or you mean like Fantastic Four? Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess. I mean,
like you didn't know that it was going to turn out like that fucking bad, you know.
no.
But so anyway, so the first movie, 61%, did really well. Surprised that it took 20 years, and then um, as ridiculous as the first movie is in certain things, like the fact that he can upload a virus to alien technology, like we have a hard enough like time getting like Apple products to work with, you know, fucking Samsung products. They don't they don't fucking gel. But an alien Martian race, he can upload a virus with his PC. Bull fucking shit. I mean, how many updates did he have to do before, like in Windows, before he could even fucking like, you know, where did he find a piece that actually fit, like because there's so many different types of connections. You know, you got mini USB, you've got the lightning cables, you've got the 32 pin. Like,
I
what
think
fucking cable was that did he use in the first movie to be able to upload it to the
I
fucking
I
computer?
don't I don't know. I thought it had to do with embedding it in the signal, but I don't think you could even do that.
No, and
Because
like
everything's signal based.
and
But
even if it was like, even if it was like signal based, like how did he get their Wi-Fi password? He couldn't even read their read their language. Like how'd they get their Bluetooth to work correctly? So
I
as so that's pretty ridiculous. And then the whole ridiculous thing that like Randy Quaid was like, you know, the drunken fucking the drunken pilot who ends up saving the entire world, who he's not even mentioned in this movie, which I thought was fucking crazy. Like they don't mention Randy Quaid at all. Like he doesn't exist. Like I
no, and he was the one who took down the first ship. He's the one that they all
saved
went, "Oh,
yeah,
we got to do that."
exactly. It's all Will they all praise Will Smith. I'm like, "Well, what about the drunken farmer guy, the pilot? Like what happened to that guy? What happened to Randy Quaid?" Like I don't know if it was like Randy Quaid's like personal stuff going on
The
because like
same thing that happened to his career, dude. It's
yeah, like that
nobody cares about Randy
he,
Quaid anymore.
yeah, he's not even mentioned in like the celebration that he was the first one to take down the alien ship who actually saved the president. So like
Yeah,
he's
they actually had that general guy out there, and he looked old as
oh
fuck,
yeah.
man.
But
Looked
I feel
bad.
like what they did with Randy Quaid's character, I feel like they rewrote the history so that he doesn't exist, kind of like, you know, when you were growing up, you didn't learn about like the atrocities that happened to the American Indians. You know, like that's what happened to Randy Quaid. He was like American Indian in the
Did
movie.
you just compare him to American Indians?
Like he wasn't mentioned one dude. He was not mentioned. He doesn't
Oh
exist in
my
the second
god.
movie. Like
I know.
he was not mentioned. It was that bad. But so as ridiculous as Randy Quaid, like, you know, flying a jet that he just learned how to fly, hung over that morning, right? Because think about that.
Instead of a crop duster, that's
Yeah.
quite a bit of
So
difference. A jet.
that morning, he learned how to fly this brand new jet fighter, hung over.
didn't didn't Bill Pullman's character say like anybody that has any kind of knowledge like get in one of these planes and
Yeah,
go?
anybody.
I'm like,
So that's ridiculous, right?
oh, so okay.
Did you
I
know
have
the
100
original ending?
hours.
Did you know
I
the
have a
original
hundred
ending?
hour. No, I don't. But I have 100 hours clocked in on Flight Simulator. Does that give? Would I be able to fly one of those jets if I
I
was playing video games all day long?
don't I played Star Fox a lot on
Yeah, the
N64.
barrel roll.
Yeah, I did N64, and I was really good in the Star Wars pod,
Pod
flying the
racing.
no, the Tie Fighter, the Star Wars battle pod.
Oh, the TIE.
I can fly the X-wing really well, and the Tie Fighter really well, and Vader's Tie Fighter really well. So I probably have more experience than some of the people that saved the world in the first Independence Day. So is like, but
Anyway.
seriously, as ridiculous as that was, the original ending, or I don't want to
Oh
say
yeah.
original, the
Oh,
alternate
I don't
ending.
know what it is.
Okay,
Yeah, I've never seen
so
it.
the alternate or original ending was Randy Quaid still saving the world, but he did it in his crop dusting plane.
I want to see that.
Literally, he is not like, so they had to have like reshot it because like you see like Randy Quaid like trying to getting in the jet fighter pilot and he almost like blows up the fucking base because he presses the wrong button and shit like that. And he's like
Right.
flying out there. He puts his mask on when like Bill Pullman calls out like like Eagle 5 or whatever he says, firing the missiles and shit like that. And you see Randy Quaid doing that. But in the
Mhm.
original ending, he's not mentioned at all. Like he's not there drinking coffee, trying to learn how to fly the jet.
He
He's like
jumps into his crop duster and
he
takes
no,
off with the ship.
you don't even see that. All you see is like Bill Pullman saying, "Is there anybody left with a missile or anybody that can do anything?" Basically, and then all of a sudden you see Randy Quaid saying, "I'm here, sir," in his fucking crop duster thing,
How's he
right?
able to talk to him?
I have no fucking clue. That's even more ridiculous too. And he fucking flies his like crop dusting plane up into the alien like laser or whatever and blows the
Right.
spaceship up. Now, I'm pretty sure that like I don't remember him having missiles on his like crop dusting plane. So, I don't think the explosion from a crop dusting plane could have like destroyed the laser.
No, it just would have phased out. And plus, if you would have flown that directly straight up like that, it would have stalled out and fell back down to the ground.
But
So
like, but the fact that he was flying a crop dusting plane where there's alien like UFOs flying around, firing green laser shit, and then like jet fighter like planes, firing back at those alien ships, and here he is flying under the radar basically in a red crop dusting plane, like red. As many planes as there were out there, you would have seen a red crop dusting plane. Like, what the fuck is that? And then he's just like, just all of a sudden, just saves the day. So that was the alternate or original ending of Independence Day.
Oh my god, I would have thrown a candy bar at the screen if I saw that. I'd have been so mad.
I
I'm
think
glad they
Michael,
didn't do that.
I think Michael Bay wrote that part, and they reshot it.
Maybe,
Michael Bay and Zack
maybe
Snyder got together and did that scene
wrote and directed it. Yeah.
with U-Ball.
That's what this is. This is a very expensive U-Ball movie.
No, this movie made too much sense to be a U-Ball movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
So
that's our flashback to the original Independence Day. The current Independence Day Resurgence is not doing as well as the first Independence Day.
so
It's
what's it rated at right now? Because the other day I saw it was like 51 or something like that. What's it
yeah,
at right
right
now?
now it's at 34%.
Holy shit! Are you
Yeah,
serious?
yeah, it's at 34%. It's not good.
Wow. I didn't
Um,
really think it was that bad though.
well,
I mean, I was entertained. I wasn't like, oh my god, this is the best thing since sliced bread. But I was like, it wasn't terrible. It was just goofy. It just had
well,
a lot of weird. It's a popcorn movie,
yeah, but
complete popcorn movie.
to give you some context, right? So Resurgence has 114 reviews, so I guess a lot of people didn't want to go and see this movie.
Oh
Maybe there'll be
wow,
more
that's a
reviews.
lot.
No, that's actually not a lot. In comparison,
Okay.
Batman v Superman had 338 reviews.
Okay. Well, it's only the first day.
So, um, but Batman v Superman ended up being 27%. So Independence Day Resurgence, with all those like not really great actors in it, still is in a better film than than Batman v Superman according to Rotten
I
Tomatoes.
guess so. I still think that 27% for Batman v Superman is really low. I think I'd still say it's in the 50 to 55 range for me, but I think because that movie was so I mean, so many people were excited about that movie. I think it was rated so low because their expectations were just crushed.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they rated it low. It was more of like, I'm so pissed off at this movie, I'm going to give it a bad rating. Whatever. But I didn't think this movie was 34%. If I had to grade it, I'd still say it was like 50. It's still not fresh.
You're talking about
But
Resurgence,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, Resurgence. I think it was like
Yeah,
50.
I could probably say I would probably, I might even go a little bit lower for a couple reasons we'll go into later.
Okay.
But I think 34 is kind of low. 27 for Batman v Superman is very low. And I don't think either of us could agree with either one of them. And we'll give our ratings and stuff at the very end of this episode. But so that's where Resurgence is sitting. It made how much last night? It made 4 million last night, which is not a lot in
Hmm.
Thursday showings. So I don't really know what it's tracking. Do you know offhand what it's tracking for the weekend? I don't think it's going to break
Um,
100,
no, I want to say 60 to 70. I'm guessing.
which is pretty low considering they spent like what 150 something million on this movie.
Oh, this movie's probably $200 million. It's probably a lot of money. They
Yeah,
spent a
so
lot of money on this thing. But overseas, dude, I'm sure it's going to do gangbusters because they
yeah,
like this shit.
this type of movie is right up there with what people like to watch overseas for some reason. They love the spectacle of movie without any substance. But
Well,
I'm sure later on, once people start seeing other movies that have the spectacle and the substance to the movie, those overseas numbers will start mirroring the United States because a lot of people
well,
don't
it's
see these type of special effects.
well, it's the trend. They're really gearing towards like China because it's the second biggest audience in movies. They did have finally an Asian character in this movie that was, I thought, considered wasn't really a third tier character. She was probably more like a second or even close to a main character in it. As the fighter pilot, and she was great.
She
Um,
was okay. She didn't have a lot to do. She was mainly there for the comic relief guy.
yeah, that's true. He kind of like was getting like googly eyed for her and stuff like that. But I don't know. I kind of liked her delivery. She was kind of tough and no nonsense and didn't give a shit about whatever.
Well, yeah. So
Um,
the new and old characters. Let's go through the cast, right? So there's no Will
okay.
Smith. We already talked about that. We
Yep.
already talked about the stripper turned doctor that dies 5 minutes into the movie. Um, the president, who I was really psyched for Bill Pullman to be in this movie again. The
Me
fact that
too.
he's got like this beard and shit, and then he fucks that all up by shaving it and delivers a really bad, you know, rah rah speech in the middle of the movie, which kind of sucked. Um,
Yeah.
the general I thought was going to die when he stood up. The old guy, I forget his, I don't know his name.
I forget too. He's a pretty well known like character actor or main actor in a
But
lot of stuff.
did
But
it
I
not
think
look
he's
like
retired.
did okay, so he's like old as shit and there's something like seriously wrong with him, all jokes aside. But did it look like he went through like plastic surgery because he didn't really have any wrinkles on his face, but you could
No, but he
tell
also
how
he looked
old he
like
was?
he looked like he had a stroke or
Yeah,
something.
it was
Um,
he didn't even have a speaking part, but I think like I thought that was kind of cool that they actually got him back, to
yeah.
just be there for the celebration
He's
again,
like,
even
can you
though
just CGI me in here? I don't want to fucking go down to the studio. Like,
yeah,
I
he's
don't
like,
want
I've
to.
seen Civil War fuckers, like you make me come out here and stand up and shit.
In a fake war.
Yeah, like I've seen. No, I meant Civil War Captain America, where they did the younger Robert
Oh,
Downey Jr.
right, right.
They could have
Yeah.
CG'd him there. I mean, they CG'd Vivica A. Fox dying. They could have done that with him. Um,
They really treated her character like shit. That really kind of bothered me, but whatever.
well, they made her a doctor, and she's in the movie. Randy Quaid isn't even mentioned, and he saved the world. Well,
Yeah,
he
you
saved
don't
the
even see
president.
the kids. You
Yeah, you
don't
don't
see
see
the
any of those
kids
guys.
of him.
Yeah, none of them. Which I thought when you first saw the station wagon, that's who that was going to be. I'm like, oh, here we go. Here's Randy Quaid's kids, but it wasn't them. It was just some other random people.
Yeah.
Jeff
You mean
Goldblum.
Lee? Yeah, Jeff Goldblum is back in
Um,
it.
yeah, I mean he has some good one-liners in here, but it didn't seem like the same Jeff Goldblum from the first movie, or even the same
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum from like Jurassic Park: Lost World. Um, Goldblum's dad, I don't know his name, but what the fuck? Like there was no like he was completely useless to be in this movie. I didn't see a reason for him to be in there.
Yeah, I didn't really see it either. They should have just
They don't even mention
uh
the wife, like that he got back together with at the end of the movie.
no, no, not at all. Like what happened to her? They could have said like she went on to other things or No, instead he's just like trying to hook up with that one chick, or he
Right.
had
Yeah.
a relationship with her. Yeah, some
I
on
was
and
like,
off
yeah, that was
relationship.
kind of weird that they didn't even mention that because that was such a big deal, like in the first movie, that he didn't take off his wedding ring and shit like that. So, I guess
Yeah,
once you
that
save the
really
world,
bothers me.
once you save the world and you become rich and famous or whatever, you don't really give a shit about the one who divorced you. So, I guess that's what happened
No,
there.
because you get it because now you're a poon hound. Now you can get any girl you wanted.
Yeah, you can get any scientist you want. Um,
Yeah.
so then, and then of course that leads us to Brent Spiner is his last name, I think.
Yeah, Data.
Um,
I just say Data.
Yeah, Data, which I can't believe they actually brought him back, which made no sense to me whatsoever because he was dead. Like he was dead in the first movie. You can't tell me that he was in a coma with his eyes open. He was dead because
Well,
they
they
checked his
brought Col-
pulse.
yeah, they brought Coulson back for Agents of Shield, but
Yeah,
whatever.
but they didn't
Yeah,
explain. They explained that with alien technology. They checked this guy's pulse. Like they didn't. Like they just said he was in a coma. In Agents of Shield, spoilers, they used alien technology to bring him back, and it took a while to
right.
do it. They
Well,
just
yeah, I
they
don't
just
know.
one-lined him alive, like saying like, "Oh, he's been in a coma for 20 years." And I was like, "Well, how is he able to walk if he's been in a coma for 20 years?"
Yeah, his legs would have been like, yeah,
Atrophied like crazy.
you've seen, Kill Bill. She was down for 4 years and she still couldn't walk right
Right.
away.
Yeah, exactly. Like he would have been like he would have been like skin and bones basically, no muscle tone whatsoever, but he's just walking around.
Well, they brought him back and they beefed up his role this time too. They gave him a lot more to do. Um,
Yeah, but they didn't need to bring him back. They could have gave that to somebody else. That could have
yeah,
been
that's
Jeff
true.
Goldblum.
Yeah, it could have
Been
been.
that could have been him. And then the new people they brought in with the new guy who plays Will Smith's kid in this one, Liam Hemsworth, the president's daughter, and then Liam Hemsworth's like best friend in the movie, which I don't even remember all their names, but the
I don't
fact that
either, but
I
I
didn't really
like
like
that
it.
kid.
You did?
Yeah, actually, I like the kid. The other guy that I kind of liked too was the we forgot to mention too the Lord, the warrior guy from
Oh yeah, he was
Africa.
pretty badass. Yeah,
I liked him, and then the other dude that kept trying to follow him around and
was
try
that
to
the
like get.
lawyer?
Yeah, he wanted like fighting tips, and the guy's like, "Well, you got to stab the aliens in the back. That's the only way to really kill them efficiently. Is just go. I've killed many aliens, and he had like tattoos on his arms and shit of
Right.
all the kills.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
like
mind
that dude a
them.
lot.
I didn't mind them,
Yeah,
but I wasn't a big fan of Liam Hemsworth character. Definitely was not a fan of Will Smith's kid in the movie.
that's because they're the stereotypical. It's the same shit over and over and over again. It's like they need to figure out a better formula or have a different type of character for those roles. It's the same typical. Anybody could just filter in those roles, no problem. They need
Yeah,
to
they
figure out.
didn't need to have like Liam Hemsworth in that role. They could have gotten like the first 25% of Green Lantern. Ryan Reynolds could have played that guy,
Right, right.
or any other
So
like, or Tom Cruise probably could have played him in the beginning or end of Top Gun. Like it's that character, only not done well at all.
right,
Like
yeah.
he's
It
not
wasn't very
Maverick.
believable.
Yeah, yeah, he's like not Maverick.
Yeah,
Um,
they tried. They tried and failed.
yeah, yeah, not great. The president's daughter wasn't really good. Um, anyway, um, so the plot of the movie is it has the same beats. It's a little bit different. The plot. I
Hmm.
mean, yeah, they come back and try to. Basically, what ends up happening is they sent out a distress signal to a queen, or they might have had a queen on the mothership when they destroyed it last time, but they didn't know that. And then the other queen got it and is coming to Earth 20 years later somehow. It took them 20 years to get that signal, but only 2 days to fucking get to Earth. That's kind of weird.
Well, that was one of the bullshit things for me. But the other bullshit thing was when they go to Africa and you see the ship, that the one ship that didn't explode, it actually landed instead.
Right.
And then they were saying that the aliens that were on board came off, and like all the African people, the warriors had to keep killing them to stave them off because they kept trying to kill the humans there, and so it's been a constant battle. And yet Jeff Goldblum's character acted like he'd never heard of that before. In 20 years, he's like, "Oh shit, there's a ship here. Oh shit, they were drilling here. Oh
Well,
shit."
I thought that was explained away it was really quick. It happened really quick, and then happened to be one of the lines I paid attention to was was the fact that they were never allowed there beforehand. So they hadn't like because they were like warlords there or whatever. They were
Yeah.
never allowed to know what was going on there, and they were never
Yeah,
allowed. No
but
outsiders
dude,
were allowed.
but with all the fucking technology we have on this planet, we have satellites that can read license plates on your car. So that's bullshit. We would have saw that ship there. We would have
Yeah,
saw
I know,
all the
but
stuff
you're
happening.
trying to add logic to a movie that that might not have had a crop duster plane saving the day in this version, but there's still a lot of things that just don't make any fucking sense whatsoever.
Yeah. Well,
So
anyway, the ship sends a beacon out, and then they show up, and then you find out
yeah, that's basically
you.
the plot right there. They sent a beacon, they show up, they fail the first time, then the second time they actually get a better plan, and then it ends. That's the entire plot. That's basically the first plot of the movie. They're invaded. They just they're invaded again in the second movie. They fuck up the first plot. You knew it was going to fail because all you had to do was look at your watch or look at your cell phone and see how much longer they had in the movie. The first plot was going to fail, and then they come up with a second better plot, and then that almost fails, but they end up being triumphant at the end. If it sounds
Okay,
familiar,
so
that's the first movie.
here's the big flaw to the second movie, though. Okay, there's that sphere, that white sphere that they find, that they're like, oh,
Right.
this is the
Okay.
key to defeating them.
Right.
Okay, and the queen notices the sphere, and leaves the comfort of her ship to go fucking destroy that thing.
Right.
How asinine is that queen when she could have just stayed where she was? They were minutes away from destroying the Earth by digging into the core. She didn't have to leave the ship. She could have just stayed there, a couple more minutes, shot into the core, fucked the whole atmosphere up, killed everybody on the planet, and then she could have rolled in and picked up the sphere and destroyed it. So
Well, or she
that
could have
made
had
no
her
sense to me.
or she could have had her billions and billions of alien planes that were attacking and going to win and defeat that base. Just go get the sphere. Because that guy with the glasses and the dude with the two machetes was not going to hold off that horde.
No. And
So,
that was the one I noticed that right away. I was like, why is the queen leaving her ship? She's imminent. She's about to win. Why does she need to leave the ship? It's like just stay there, drill it to the core, fuck up the Earth's atmosphere, everyone dies, and then you just roll in and pick up the sphere.
well, that just
You
goes
know,
to show
it's
you that the writers of the second movie wanted equal stupidity on both ends. They wanted stupidity on the human side and they wanted stupidity on the alien side. Like,
well, here's the thing. If they would have gone into the ship and stopped it from drilling, would have been one thing, and then like fucked up the mechanics so that the queen had to leave the ship, that would have made more sense. To where like the queen's like, well, fuck, they messed up my drilling plan, so now I have to take care of this shit by myself. But they actually had like a swarm of ships around her to keep her. Like once her shields got destroyed, they had those ships fly around her like a tornado, so that she was protected. I kind of like that. Thought that
right.
okay, that's kind of cool. But again, the just some of the stuff that they did, the writers did, just made no sense. I was like, it was like all she had to do was just sit in the ship and wait, and they would have won.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I don't know.
But
Um,
you're gonna get that shit in like a Roland Emmerich movie. Like for some reason I knew that I was going to walk into a movie that was like I think my biggest problem with this movie was that it rehashed the beats. Like when we were just explaining the plot, I mean that's literally the plot. Like they attack again, the first plan is going to fail, the second plan is barely going to fail, and that's the end of the movie. There were a couple things that were cool. The sphere that you found out that it was like another, a bigger war than what they thought. Definitely set it up for a sequel.
I did like that. I did like that.
I did like the whole sphere thing in general, knowing that there was a greater technology out there. um, uh, I mean, it was
I did
a
like
nice
that
looking
aspect of
film.
it.
It was
Mhm.
like a really nice look. I saw it on IMAX again. That's where I see most of these blockbuster movies, but it was a good looking film. Like it looked good, but I just hated the fact that it was like really predictable. I mean, again, this movie's not meant to be a thinking movie. You're just meant to
Hmm.
suspend disbelief or suspend belief in everything that you see in a Roland Emmerich film and just watch the spectacle of it all. He doesn't. I don't think he tries to my knowledge anyway. I could be dead wrong, but I don't think he tries to pass off his movies as like these great like thinking movies like that Marvel has with like Civil War or something like that. They don't try to do. He doesn't try to do that. Um,
No, he doesn't listen to the honest trailer people. He's like, this is what it is. It's just a spectacle.
yeah,
It's just a spectacle. It's not meant to be like, oh, this is based on true shit that could happen. It's, it is, it's just schlock factor. It's fun. It's like going to watch a magician and they do a sleight of hand that makes you look the other direction so you don't notice the glaring plot holes until after you leave the theater and you go, wait a minute, that was bullshit. Um, but I again, like Batman v Superman, as shitty the movie was, I was still entertained. Like I was entertained with this movie, and even a couple times I even had a little smile. I smirked. I was like, "Oh, that's
yeah,
pretty cool."
yeah, I did too, and that's why like that's what I expected from this movie when they weren't talking, when the actors weren't acting, and I would just watch like aliens destroy shit or humans destroy other shit and stuff like that when they were just firing at each other. I got what I wanted out of this movie. I got to see, a fucking 100-foot alien in IMAX 3D, like fucking do shit that I've never seen before. So, you know,
Yeah,
I got my money's worth, I would say. And, maybe because I didn't have any expectations going into this movie because it's a Roland Emmerich movie. Um, I enjoyed it more than I would with high expectations like a Batman v Superman movie.
right. I think if this movie came out 5 years after the original Independence Day, I think we probably would have been severely disappointed. Um,
I'm not
because
sure we would have. I'm
the
not sure we would
expectations
have.
would have been really high. You
Well,
know,
yeah. Well, these actors would not have been in it. Probably Will Smith would have been in it, and the plot would have completely changed. But
I don't think the graphics would have been as good either.
no,
But
no, no, the special effects were pretty really good in this movie. I thought the aliens looked really awesome in this movie, way better than the first one.
yeah, me
Because
too.
the
The
technology
queen, the
changed.
queen was awesome. I love the queen. I thought she was cool.
Yeah, they all looked badass, and because I think in the first movie they mixed they mixed graphic computer graphics with like real life models. Like in a lot of
Yeah,
close ups you get like the real life alien there, but in this one everything's completely CG'd. So they were able
yeah,
to add a lot more detail. So the aliens look a lot better here. The ships are a little altered and they look a lot better here. Again, it's a spectacle movie. They did exactly what they meant to do with all the fucking. I mean, right from the very beginning, there's special effects. It doesn't end. There's no
yeah. It
scene where
doesn't.
there's no
Yeah,
special effects.
no, it's in the whole thing. The other thing that kind of bothered me too is in 20 years they rebuilt a lot of shit. I would have figured it would have took a lot longer than that, but
Well, I think they tried to
you know,
explain that away in 20 years, where that all the nations came together. I guess except for that one African nation or that one African section that didn't want anybody to be in
yeah,
that. But basically everybody came together and everybody used the alien technology, which makes sense.
it
That
does make sense. Yeah,
they would have like flying ships like that and um, and guns that shoot blue lasers this time instead. So that part kind of made sense. But I thought there was a lot of unnecessary CG in this movie as well, like the whole in front of the White House, in front of the
oh yeah,
Washington
the Washington
Monument.
Monument.
Yeah, the whole
Yeah,
pool is completely gone. They didn't rebuild that. They made it like a park instead. And then there was like these giant like Texas Stadium like fucking giant screens in there, like lined up
right.
all over. And the first thing I thought about was like those are waterproof, right? Because in the wintertime it gets pretty shitty in Washington D.C. Like that's a
You're
lot
all
of
like
TV screens
nit
that get fucked up.
nitpicking the TV screen.
Yeah, because like me,
Uh,
I love like big fucking television. So the first thing I think about is like those TVs would get fucked up in the wintertime.
I'm giving this movie a 28% because
Yeah, because they have
they don't pay
no
attention to the details.
yeah, they have no love for television screens and they just fucking leave them out there.
Oh man, so um, yeah, I thought. I don't know. I think overall, I was definitely entertained. I mean, there's definitely some parts in it that I kind of rolled my eyes at. Some parts that I kind of giggled a little bit. Some parts where I went, "Oh shit, that was kind of cool."
So let's
But nothing,
yeah, let's
nothing glaring.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Definitely like I mean, there's a lot of glaring things, but you just kind of accept it because again, it's a Roland Emmerich film.
Right.
But let's go over. Let's introduce something that we talked about. We've been reviewing movies for a while, and we basically gave two thumbs up, and we thought that was kind of lame. So we're gonna actually introduce a new rating system.
Yes.
So if you've been a loyal listener to our podcast and you know our logo, I am on the left with a lightsaber, with a blue lightsaber. Don't sue us, Star Wars. Um, and then you are on the right with a chainsaw. Now, if you don't know where the chainsaw comes from, you might not be really a nerd, but that is from Evil Dead, the
Yep.
chainsaw hand. So when we rate movies from now on, we're going to give either my ratings will be however many lightsabers out of five, and yours will be however many chainsaws out of five. And then we
Yes.
also, because nobody else really talks about it, and it feels like all this underground stuff is going on, that only people like us talk about the underground type stuff, who's not the corporate media talks about it. We're going to come up with a diversity rating. So,
Yes. Absolutely.
so the diversity rating needs a little needs a little background. So,
It needs some explaining. Yeah.
so the way that we came up with the rating is if it's really diverse, we're gonna say it has a plethora of diversity. We'll explain this in a minute. If it has mediocre diversity, we'll say it's Jan Brady. And if it has no diversity, we'll say it's Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Yeah,
And now
okay.
that I'm saying it out loud, it's even more ridiculous than when we talked
Thank
about
you.
it before.
I like it better than stars and
Okay,
thumbs ups and
so
yeah.
plethora, right, exactly. So plethora comes from the movie Three Amigos, and I got a feeling the people that are listening to this probably know what we're talking about. It's
I
the
hope so.
scene where El Guapo is asking his henchman if he has a plethora of fuck, what does he say? A plethora of
Of
pi-
something. I don't remember what it
pinatas,
was.
pinatas, right?
Pinatas.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Would you
I
say we have a plethora of pinatas?
yeah. So yeah, that's how we came up with plethora. And so the middle one, Jan Brady, came up with that because she was the middle child. So we wanted something that represented, kind of mediocre diversity. And
Yes.
I thought Jan Brady was as middle tier, middle child as you could possibly get. And
Marsha, Marsha, Marsha.
yeah, exactly. And then Casper the Friendly Ghost is white as shit, so or white as hell,
Yeah.
or white as snow, I should say.
Little to
So
no diversity. Yeah.
yeah, so since we explained that long-winded version of, it probably would have been easier just to go with diversity stars instead, but we can't I can't do
I don't want
something.
to do anything easy.
Yeah, yeah, it took way too long to explain that, but hopefully people will pick up on why we're doing what we're doing. So anyway, so
You
let's
want me
do
to
the
start?
diversity. Let's do the diversity rating.
Okay.
Would you say this movie has a plethora of diversity?
I if I had to say anything, I think it was more Jan Brady.
Yeah.
I think yeah, I think the first Independence Day was more Casper. I think this is Jan Brady.
Okay. Um, I think I can
What would you
almost.
say?
I'm kind of. You know what? We need something in between Jan Brady and plethora because I'm kind of right there. I would say maybe there's a plethora of Jan Brady in this one.
Okay, that's good. All right.
Because there's like she's not the main character, but there's that Asian person, there's a black person, there's a white person, all
Hmm.
trying to all the pilots trying to save.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, definitely a step above the first Independence Day. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So rating wise,
Well,
I'm gonna give this like 2.5 lightsabers.
that's pretty much what I'm gonna do, what I was thinking too. Two and a half chainsaw arms for me.
Okay,
And
well there's our ratings.
There you go. Yeah, and that's pretty much our spoilerific review. Now, there is one thing though. the, I knew better not to sit through the end credits in this movie.
Fucking titles of internet fucking articles, misleading pieces of shit.
Yeah, what happened? What happened there?
Well, basically, it said that it was going to be like the end credit, the best end credit scene all summer, and then come to find out after that there's no end credit, and the title was sarcastic.
Did you Google that at the theater before the movie began?
I googled it while the 10-minute fucking credits were rolling.
Oh, okay. So you decided, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna stick around, but you didn't read the article to find out like
No,
what it was
because I
because
didn't
you didn't want
I
to
didn't
be
want it to be
spoiled.
spoiled. So I sat through 10 minutes of fucking credits for nothing.
I can just see you there all anxious for the end credits, and there's nothing there, and you're like, what? Did you roll a tear, or did you get really pissed?
I was mad.
Well, at least you waited long enough for people to disperse, and you probably got out of there okay. In your car, you're not going through traffic and all that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, but they did definitely set this movie up for a sequel. Because of the last line in the movie is, we'll take the fight to them, and then Brent Spiner says, we're going to go and kick their alien ass, or whatever it was. And then it just faded to black.
Right. So,
but
so that's our Resurgence review.
There's our Independence Day original review, very quick one in the beginning, and then our Resurgence review. But yeah, that's episode 31 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic.
Until next time, folks, chew on that.
Later.